who needs to hear this, but maybe in this season you're wondering why the principle had to be so big. You know what I mean? Like, why whatever was done to you had to be so much more severe than you thought. Like, you knew something was going on, but you didn't know how severe and how big, you know? And it's like God was sending you little things, little situations with a small principle, maybe from, you know, a family member, a significant other, a friend. It doesn't always even have to be a relationship. It can literally just be like friends, family, associates, you know? And he kept bringing you into situations with these people while allowing it, because we all have free will, you know? If we didn't have free will, you know, it would be more like a robotic situation. God wanted us to have free will. He wanted us to have faith, which is why we have it. A lot of people love to say, well, why would God allow these little situations to run in my way if he was protecting me? A lot of times we need a lesson. We need a physical example, because people could tell you all day about how and what to do with your life, but until you actually go through a situation where it forces you to do nothing but make certain decisions, and to have to make certain decisions based on what you went through quickly, this is what gives us the experience. So this is why God allowed those little situations. And with those little situations, you know, he was trying to show you the principle is small this time, but I want to see if you're understanding the severity of what was done without the principle being too dramatic, you know, because a lot of times, again, God doesn't want us to be hurt. God doesn't want us to be disappointed. God doesn't want us to be in an overall just low vibrational energetic feel. Like, he doesn't want us to be disappointed. But when he sees he's throwing you these little situations, you're just, oh, I'm forgiving, like, oh, I understand, you know, the principle was little, it could have been bigger, but it wasn't, and maybe it's just for me to forgive her. No, this is for you to learn how to use your discernment quickly in situations where you shouldn't have to be shown an example. And when you cannot learn from the little situations and a little example, the little principle, that's when God's like, okay, now I'm going to have to allow these people to come and do something a little, you know, a little worse, because I'm going to need the principle to be a lot bigger. Like, I'm going to need the principle to be so big for you to stand on any decision you're about to make after what happens, because God gave you the little principle. He gave you the little situation, you know? He wanted to see if you could walk away with just that, if that would be enough to show you with your discernment, like, okay, this is not for me. The situation doesn't have to escalate. It doesn't have to get, you know, worse. It doesn't have to get to a point of no return, because God is showing me through my discernment and lessons and trials and tribulations, like, this is not for me early on. This is why we run into the situations that are bigger, and then the principle becomes gigantic, and God's like, okay, I'm gonna have to let these people do what they're doing to you, and it's not because I don't love you, but I gave you a small principle, I'll give you a small situation, and you went back to it. You found reasoning and forgiveness where forgiveness was not necessary. So I'm gonna need the principle to be a lot bigger. I'm gonna need the principle to have you running and not looking back to become a pillar of salt, because again, this is love. It's what you call hard love. You know, when you love hard, you are willing to love somebody so much to tell them the truth about themselves and to show them the truth. And God had to, in this situation, show you the worst for you to understand that the principle doesn't have to be gigantic before you cut somebody off. The principle doesn't have to be to no return before you finally cut somebody off. Sometimes the principle could be little, but you overstepped my small boundary, and that's enough. And that's enough for you to call it quits. That's enough for you to walk away. That's enough for you to say, God has shown me with a little that this is never going to be a lot and what I need it to be. So it's time for me to walk away. Because in the season, we are not turning into pillars of salt. I don't know who needs to hear this, but in the season, the principle had to be that big. It had to be that serious, so you could finally walk away.